Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, and a huge thank you for joining us today, because what you are about to hear may completely change the way you look at loose change forever and could make you rush to check every single penny you own, especially if it carries the date 2023 and the Denver Mint mark, because today we are diving deep into the shocking story, the unbelievable possibilities, and the mind-bending minting mistakes behind the 2023 D1 cent that collectors believe could be worth up to $3 million, a modern penny that most people would ignore, toss into a jar, or leave behind on a counter, yet under the right circumstances, with the right combination of rare errors, striking anomalies, planchet problems, and production mishaps, this tiny copper-plated coin could represent a life-changing fortune. And as always on this channel, we explore not just rumors but the real reasons why certain coins explode in value, how errors are created, why some mistakes are incredibly rare, and how a single cent can outperform luxury cars, houses, and even lottery winnings when collectors and investors compete to own a once-in-a-generation discovery. And the 2023 D1 cent is a perfect example of how modern coinage, despite advanced technology, still produces spectacular errors that captivate the numismatic world. Because while many people assume that modern pennies are boring, mass-produced, and worthless beyond face value, the truth is that the United States Mint produces billions of coins each year under immense pressure, tight schedules, high-speed presses, and microscopic tolerances, and even the most advanced systems cannot prevent every single mistake, and when something goes wrong at just the right moment, the result can be an extraordinary coin that should never have existed, and that is exactly where the legend of the 2023 D1 cent worth $3 million begins, with Denver striking hundreds of millions of cents during a year filled with supply chain challenges, metal composition scrutiny, and relentless production demands, creating the perfect environment for rare and dramatic errors to slip through unnoticed. And the most valuable versions of the 2023 D penny are not defined by ordinary wear or circulation condition but by catastrophic minting failures such as wrong planchet strikes, dramatic off-center strikes, multiple strikes with die rotation, broad strikes with missing collars, die clashes so severe they distort Lincoln's portrait, and most importantly transitional and experimental errors involving incorrect metal compositions, because one of the most explosive possibilities surrounding the 2023 D cent is the potential existence of a wrong metal strike, where a penny is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or another metal entirely, such as a zinc core meant for a foreign coin, an experimental alloy, or even a leftover copper planchet that should have never entered the press. And history has shown that wrong metal pennies can sell for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars when confirmed by professional grading services, especially when they are modern coins where such errors are considered nearly impossible. And this is where the $3 million valuation enters the conversation, because if a verified 2023 D1 cent were discovered struck on an incorrect metal with a unique weight, composition, and magnetic response, it would instantly become one of the most important modern mint errors ever recorded, driving collectors, museums, and wealthy investors into a bidding war unlike anything seen in recent decades. And beyond wrong metal strikes, the 2023 D cent also carries the potential for extreme double dies, not the minor machine doubling that many people mistakenly believe is valuable, but true hub doubling where the design itself was doubled during die creation, producing dramatic separation in lettering, dates, and Lincoln's features. And if a strong double die obverse or reverse were discovered on a 2023 D penny with bold, unmistakable doubling visible to the naked eye, its value could skyrocket overnight, especially because modern double dies are far rarer than those of earlier decades due to improved hubbing processes, making any genuine example a major event in the numismatic community. And then there is the possibility of major die breaks, cut errors, and retained cuts that dramatically alter the coin's appearance, creating massive raised blobs of metal where parts of the die have broken away, sometimes covering dates, mint marks, or Lincoln's face. And while minor die chips are common and mostly worthless, a massive cut on a modern penny, especially one that affects key design elements, can command astonishing prices, particularly when combined with other errors such as off-center strikes or misaligned dies. And speaking of misalignment, the 2023 D penny also opens the door to one of the most visually striking and valuable errors of all, the dramatic off-center strike, where the coin is struck so far from center that a large portion of the design is missing while the date and mint mark remain visible. because off-center coins without a visible date are interesting but limited in value, whereas off-center strikes that clearly show 2023 and the D mint mark are exponentially more desirable, and when the percentage of off-center exceeds 50% with full details still present, collectors go wild, and values can jump from hundreds to tens of thousands instantly, and when paired with a second strike, a rotated strike, or a wrong planchet scenario, the price can climb into 6 or 7 figures, and the most extreme examples, those that should have been caught and destroyed by quality control but somehow escaped, become legendary, fueling speculation that a perfect storm error from 2023 D could reach or even exceed the $3 million mark, and another critical factor driving the potential value of the 2023 D cent is condition, because error coins that survive in uncirculated or near-mint state are exponentially rarer than those found worn in pocket change, and a spectacular error preserved in pristine condition suggests it was removed from the minting stream almost immediately, possibly by accident, possibly by chance, but either way enhancing its desirability beyond measure, and collectors place enormous premiums on sharp details, original luster, and untouched surfaces, especially on copper-plated zinc coins where damage and corrosion are common, making a flawless error example almost mythical. And we must also talk about the psychological and historical factors that drive these extreme prices, because a coin is not valued solely by metal or age, but by story, rarity, and timing. And the story of a modern penny worth millions captures public imagination like few other collectibles can, drawing media attention, viral headlines, and new collectors into the market, all of which increases demand and pushes prices higher. And when a coin becomes symbolic of the idea that anyone, anywhere, could unknowingly hold a fortune in their hand, it transcends numismatics and enters popular culture, further amplifying its value, and the 2023 D1 cent sits at the intersection of all these forces. A modern coin with the potential for ancient-level rarity, produced in massive numbers yet capable of yielding singular anomalies that may never be replicated, and as collectors continue to search rolls, bags, and collections, the possibility remains alive that a unique 2023 D penny with an unprecedented combination of errors is still out there waiting to be found, hiding in plain sight, passed from hand to hand without anyone realizing its true worth, and this is why experts emphasize careful inspection, weighing coins, checking magnetic properties, examining edges, and comparing designs under magnification, because the smallest deviation can signal a monumental discovery. And while skeptics argue that $3 million for a modern penny sounds impossible, history has repeatedly proven that the numismatic market rewards the rare, the unexpected, and the impossible, and when a coin challenges assumptions and rewrites what collectors believe is achievable, its value becomes limited only by the imagination and resources of those who desire it, and the 2023 D1 cent represents exactly that kind of challenge. A reminder that even in an age of automation and precision, mistakes still happen, and when they do, they can create treasures beyond anyone's wildest expectations, setting the stage for what could become one of the most talked about coin discoveries of the 21st century. Next 2021 1 cent coin, to the channel everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in today, because what we are about to explore may completely transform how you think about ordinary pocket change and could even inspire you to carefully inspect every penny you come across, because today we are uncovering the fascinating story, the incredible possibilities, and the rare minting mistakes behind a 2021 1 cent coin that some experts and collectors believe could be worth as much as $2 million. A value that sounds impossible for a modern penny yet becomes shockingly realistic when you understand how mint errors occur, how rare combinations of mistakes are created, and why the numismatic world places enormous premiums on coins that should never have existed in the first place. And as always on this channel, our goal is to take you beyond rumors and into the real mechanics of coin production, showing how even in an era of advanced technology, laser-guided dies, and computerized quality control, extraordinary errors can still slip through the system, and the 2021 1 cent is a perfect example of this reality because it was produced during a time of unprecedented global disruption, intense production pressure, and altered mint operations that created ideal conditions for rare and dramatic mistakes to occur. And while most 2021 pennies are only worth face value, a tiny fraction may carry errors so severe, so unusual, and so historically significant that they elevate a simple copper-plated zinc coin into the realm of multi-million-dollar collectibles, and the foundation of this value lies in understanding how pennies are made, because each cent begins as a blank planchet that must be the correct size, weight, thickness, and metal composition before being fed into high-speed presses that strike hundreds of coins per minute. And when even one step in this process goes wrong, the resulting coin can become a rare anomaly, and in 2021 the United States Mint faced staffing challenges, supply chain issues, and increased demand for circulating coinage, all of which increased the likelihood of mistakes escaping detection. And among the most valuable possibilities for a 2021 1 cent is a wrong planchet or wrong metal strike, an error where the penny is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination or even a different metal entirely. And history has proven that pennies struck on incorrect planchets can command staggering prices, especially when the error involves a modern date where such mistakes are considered nearly impossible. And if a genuine 2021 1 cent were discovered struck on a copper planchet of incorrect alloy, a foreign planchet, or an experimental metal intended for testing durability or cost efficiency, its weight, color, and magnetic properties would immediately distinguish it from normal cents. And once authenticated by professional grading services, such a coin would instantly become one of the most important modern mint errors ever discovered, attracting intense interest from collectors, museums, and high-end investors, and this alone could justify valuations reaching into the millions, especially if the error were unique or one of only a handful known. And beyond wrong metal strikes, the 2021 penny also holds potential for dramatic double die errors, which are often misunderstood by casual collectors but are among the most coveted varieties in all of numismatics, because true double dies occur during the creation of the coin dies themselves when the hub impresses the design multiple times in slightly different positions, resulting in genuine, raised doubling that is part of the design and not the result of mechanical vibration. And if a strong double die obverse were discovered on a 2021 penny showing bold separation in the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust," it would immediately spark widespread attention, particularly because modern double dies are far rarer than those from earlier decades due to improved hubbing technology, and rarity is the lifeblood of value. And when rarity combines with dramatic visual appeal, prices can rise exponentially. And another powerful contributor to the potential $2 million value is the possibility of extreme die damage such as massive cuts, retained cuts, and catastrophic die breaks that dramatically alter the coin's appearance, creating large raised areas of metal where parts of the die have broken away, sometimes covering significant portions of the design. And while small die chips are common and generally worthless, a large, dramatic cut on a modern penny that affects Lincoln's portrait, the date, or the reverse design can be exceptionally valuable, particularly if it appears early in the die's life and is preserved in uncirculated condition. And condition is a critical factor here because modern pennies are easily damaged, corroded, or discolored, making high-grade error coins exponentially rarer than worn examples found in circulation. And a pristine 2021 error cent suggests it was pulled from circulation almost immediately or somehow avoided the rough handling that destroys so many zinc-based coins. And then there are striking errors that capture attention instantly, such as dramatic off-center strikes where a significant portion of the design is missing, yet the date remains fully visible. Because off-center coins without a date are interesting but limited in value, whereas off-center strikes clearly showing 2021 can command enormous premiums, especially when the percentage off-center is extreme and the coin retains full mint luster. And values climb even higher when off-center strikes are combined with other errors like double strikes, rotated dies, or broad strikes where the collar failed to contain the metal during striking, resulting in a coin that is wider and thinner than normal. And some of the most valuable modern error coins known are those that combine multiple striking anomalies, creating a one-of-a-kind appearance that cannot be duplicated. And it is precisely these rare combinations that fuel speculation about a 2021 penny reaching $2 million, because collectors are not just buying a coin, they are buying an event, a moment where multiple safeguards failed simultaneously to produce something extraordinary. And psychological factors play a huge role in these valuations as well, because modern error coins challenge assumptions and capture public imagination, generating headlines that draw new money into the hobby. And when a coin becomes famous for being improbably valuable despite its age, it gains a narrative power that drives demand far beyond traditional collector circles. And the 2021 1 cent fits perfectly into this narrative because it represents the idea that even today, Even now, hidden treasures can still emerge from everyday life, and as collectors search through rolls, bags, and collections, the possibility remains that a spectacular 2021-era penny is still out there, unnoticed, unrecognized, and undervalued, waiting for someone with knowledge and patience to discover it, and this ongoing hunt adds another layer of excitement and value, because the fewer examples that surface, the greater the mystery and the higher the stakes, and skeptics may argue that $2 million for a modern penny is unrealistic, yet history consistently proves that when rarity, condition, story, and demand converge, prices can soar beyond expectations, and the numismatic market has repeatedly rewarded coins that rewrite the rules, and the 2021 1 cent has all the ingredients necessary to do exactly that, standing as a powerful reminder that even the smallest coin can hold enormous potential when struck by mistake at just the wrong moment in the minting process. Next, 1987 D 1 cent coin. To the channel everyone, and thank you for joining us once again, because today's story is one of those unbelievable yet completely real numismatic journeys that proves even the smallest coin can hide an extraordinary secret, and if you have ever ignored a penny dated 1987 with a small D mint mark, you may want to think twice after hearing what you are about to discover. Because today we are diving deep into the rare errors, shocking mint mistakes, and incredible possibilities behind a 1987 D 1 cent that collectors believe could be worth as much as $1 million, a value that sounds almost impossible for a coin that many people still see as ordinary pocket change, yet when you understand how the United States Mint operated during the late 1980s, how errors were created, and why certain combinations of mistakes are so rare they border on legendary, the $1 million price tag starts to make sense, and as always on this channel we focus on how real value is created in the world of rare coins, not through hype alone but through a powerful mix of rarity, condition, story, and historical context, and the 1987 D penny sits at a fascinating crossroads because it was struck during a transitional era of modern minting when technology had improved but was not yet as refined or automated as it is today, meaning that serious errors were less common than in earlier decades but still very much possible, and when such errors occurred they often slipped through quality control unnoticed, entering circulation quietly and remaining undiscovered for decades, and this long period of obscurity only adds to their mystique and value, and to understand why a 1987 D 1 cent could be worth $1 million we first need to understand the minting environment of that year. Because by 1987 pennies were being struck on copper-plated zinc planchets, a composition introduced in 1982 to reduce costs, and while this change solved some economic issues, it introduced new challenges, including plating defects, bonding failures, improper alloy mixing, and planchet preparation errors, any of which could result in spectacular and highly valuable mistakes, and one of the most explosive possibilities for a 1987 D penny is a wrong planchet or wrong metal strike, where the coin is struck on a planchet that does not belong to a standard 1 cent, such as a foreign coin blank, an experimental alloy, or even a leftover copper planchet of incorrect composition, and history has shown that wrong metal pennies from the 1980s are among the most sought-after modern errors, especially when their weight, thickness, and appearance differ dramatically from normal examples, because these errors prove that multiple safeguards failed simultaneously, allowing an incorrect blank to enter the striking chamber and receive a cent design, and if a genuine 1987 D penny were discovered struck on a wrong metal planchet and authenticated by a top-grading service, it would instantly become a centerpiece of modern numismatics, attracting attention from elite collectors and institutions worldwide, and this alone could justify values approaching or reaching $1 million, particularly if the error were unique or one of only a handful known, and beyond wrong metal strikes the 1987 D penny also carries the potential for dramatic double die varieties, which are among the most famous and valuable errors in coin collecting history, because true double dies are created during the die-making process and produce bold, raised doubling that is part of the design itself, not the result of mechanical vibration or wear, and if a strong double die obverse were found on a 1987 D penny showing clear separation in the date, the word Liberty, or Lincoln's profile, it would be a monumental discovery, especially because double dies from the 1980s are far rarer than those from the mid-20th century due to improvements in hubbing technology. And rarity is everything in numismatics, and when rarity combines with strong visual impact, values can escalate rapidly, and another category of errors that adds to the million-dollar potential is major die damage, including large cuts, retained cuts, and catastrophic die breaks that dramatically alter the appearance of the coin, creating raised masses of metal where portions of the die have broken away. And while small die chips are common and generally ignored, a massive cut affecting Lincoln's portrait, the date, or the reverse design on a 1987 D penny would be extraordinary, particularly if it occurred early in the die's life and was preserved in high-grade condition, and condition plays a critical role here because zinc-based pennies are notoriously vulnerable to corrosion, bubbling, and edge damage, making well-preserved error coins from the 1980s far rarer than many collectors realize, and a pristine error example suggests it was either set aside early or somehow avoided decades of circulation abuse. And then there are striking errors that immediately capture attention, such as extreme off-center strikes where a large portion of the design is missing yet the date and mint mark remain visible, because off-center coins without a visible date are interesting but limited in value, whereas those that clearly show 1987 D are significantly more desirable. And values increase dramatically as the percentage off-center increases, especially when combined with full original luster and sharp detail, and some of the most valuable error coins known are those that combine multiple striking anomalies, such as an off-center strike paired with a second strike, a rotated die, or a broad strike caused by a missing or malfunctioning collar, and these multi-error coins are prized not just for their rarity but for the story they tell, because each additional error represents another failure in the minting process, compounding the improbability of the coin's existence, and it is precisely these improbable combinations that fuel speculation about a 1987 D penny reaching $1 million, because collectors are not simply purchasing a coin, they are acquiring a tangible record of a moment when multiple systems failed in sequence to create something that should never have existed. And beyond the physical errors themselves, psychological and historical factors play a massive role in valuation, because coins that emerge decades after their production with new discoveries generate enormous excitement, media attention, and renewed interest in the hobby, and when a coin from 1987 suddenly enters the spotlight as a potential million-dollar rarity, it reinforces the powerful idea that hidden treasures can still be found in everyday places, driving demand and competition among collectors, and the 1987 D 1 cent fits perfectly into this narrative because it represents a bridge between older error-prone minting eras and the highly automated systems of today, making any major error from that year especially significant. And as collectors continue to search old collections, rolls, and estate holdings, the possibility remains that a spectacular 1987 D-era penny is still waiting to be discovered, quietly resting in a jar or album, unrecognized for its true worth, and this ongoing mystery adds another layer of value. Because the fewer examples that surface, the more legendary the story becomes, and while skeptics may question how a penny from the 1980s could ever be worth $1 million, history has repeatedly shown that when rarity, condition, narrative, and demand align, the numismatic market is capable of extraordinary valuations, and the 1987 D 1 cent stands as a powerful reminder that even decades-old pocket change can hold unimaginable potential when struck by mistake at just the wrong moment in minting history. Next, 1994 D 1 cent coin. To the channel everyone, and thank you for being here today, because what we are about to uncover is one of the most astonishing modern coin stories ever discussed, and it has the power to completely change how you see an ordinary penny, because today we are talking about the legendary possibilities behind a 1994 D 1 cent that some collectors believe could be worth as much as $7 million, a number so massive it sounds unbelievable for a coin that millions of people have held, spent, or ignored without a second thought. Yet when you understand how the United States Mint operated in the mid-1990s, how catastrophic errors are created, and why certain combinations of mistakes are so rare they border on mythical, the $7 million valuation begins to make sense. And as always on this channel, our mission is to go beyond surface-level hype and explain the real mechanics of value, rarity, and demand that drive prices to unimaginable heights, because coins are not just metal discs. They are historical artifacts created under specific conditions, and the 1994 D penny was produced during a time of intense production pressure, evolving technology, and cost-saving measures that quietly opened the door to some of the most dramatic and valuable mint errors ever seen in modern U.S. coinage. And to truly understand why a 1994 1 cent could reach a $7 million price tag. We need to step inside the minting process itself, because every penny begins as a blank planchet that must meet exact standards for weight, thickness, and metal composition before being struck by powerful presses operating at astonishing speeds, and when even one variable goes wrong at the wrong moment, the result can be a coin that should never have existed. And in 1994 the Denver Mint was striking enormous quantities of cents using copper-plated zinc planchets, a composition that had already proven vulnerable to plating flaws, bonding issues, improper alloy mixing, and preparation errors, all of which created fertile ground for extraordinary mistakes. And one of the most explosive possibilities surrounding the 1994 penny is the existence of a wrong planchet or wrong metal strike. Because history has shown that pennies accidentally struck on planchets intended for other denominations or made from incorrect metals can sell for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, especially when they come from modern eras where quality control was expected to prevent such errors entirely. And if a genuine 1994 penny were discovered struck on a copper alloy planchet of incorrect composition, a foreign coin blank, or an experimental metal intended for testing durability or cost efficiency, its weight, color, sound, and magnetic properties would immediately distinguish it from normal cents. And once authenticated by a top-tier grading service, it would instantly become one of the most important modern mint errors ever documented, attracting global attention from elite collectors, museums, and investors who compete fiercely for unique or near-unique coins. And it is this kind of demand that fuels valuations in the multi-million-dollar range, because when only one example is known or even suspected to exist, price becomes a matter of desire rather than comparison. And beyond wrong metal strikes, the 1994 penny is also famous among specialists for the potential of extreme double die varieties, errors that occur during the die-making process itself and produce bold, raised doubling that is part of the design rather than a result of mechanical movement. And true double dies are among the most coveted errors in all of numismatics because they represent a fundamental failure at the earliest stage of coin creation. And if a dramatic double die obverse or reverse were discovered on a 1994 penny showing unmistakable separation in the date, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait, it would immediately become a centerpiece of modern U.S. coin collecting, especially because strong double dies from the 1990s are exceptionally rare due to improved hubbing techniques, and rarity combined with strong visual impact is a powerful driver of value. And another critical category of errors that could push a 1994 penny toward a $7 million valuation is catastrophic die damage, including massive cuts, shattered dies, retained cuts, and severe die breaks that dramatically distort the coin's appearance, creating large raised areas of metal where parts of the die have broken away entirely. And while minor die chips are common and largely ignored, a huge cut covering major design elements such as the date, mint mark, or Lincoln's face on a 1994 penny would be extraordinary, particularly if it occurred early in the die's life and the coin survived in uncirculated condition. And condition is a massive factor in determining value because copper-plated zinc cents are notoriously fragile, prone to corrosion, blistering, and edge damage, meaning that pristine error examples from the 1990s are far rarer than most people realize. And a flawless error coin suggests it was removed from circulation almost immediately or preserved by chance, significantly enhancing its desirability. And then there are dramatic striking errors that instantly command attention, such as extreme off-center strikes where a significant portion of the design is missing yet the date and mint mark remain clearly visible. Because off-center coins without a date are interesting but limited in value, whereas those that clearly show 1994 are exponentially more desirable, and values increase sharply as the percentage off-center grows, especially when combined with original mint luster and sharp detail. And the most valuable examples are often those that combine multiple striking errors, such as an off-center strike paired with a second strike, rotated dies, or a broad strike caused by a missing or malfunctioning collar, resulting in a coin that is wider, thinner, and visually dramatic. And multi-error coins are among the most sought after in the hobby because they represent a cascade of failures in the minting process, each one increasing the improbability of the coin's existence. And it is precisely these improbabilities that drive prices into the millions, because collectors are not just purchasing metal, they are acquiring a story of compounded mistakes frozen in time, and beyond the physical characteristic. Psychological and historical forces play an enormous role in valuation, because coins that challenge assumptions capture imagination, generate media attention, and draw new participants into the market, and a modern penny valued at $7 million becomes more than a collectible, it becomes a cultural symbol of hidden wealth and overlooked potential, and the 1994 D1 cent fits perfectly into this narrative because it sits at a point in history where modern minting technology was advanced but not infallible, making any major error from that year both shocking and deeply compelling, and as collectors continue to search through old rolls, bank boxes, estate collections, and forgotten jars, the possibility remains that an extraordinary 1994 D-era penny is still out there waiting to be discovered, quietly existing without recognition of its true value. And this lingering mystery only adds fuel to the legend, because the fewer confirmed examples exist, the greater the excitement and the higher the stakes, and while skeptics may question how a penny from the 1990s could ever be worth $7 million, history has repeatedly shown that when rarity, condition, story, and demand align perfectly, the numismatic market can produce valuations that defy logic, and the 1994 D1 cent stands as a powerful reminder that even the most ordinary objects can become priceless when struck by mistake at just the wrong moment in minting history. Last 2020 D1 cent coin, to the channel everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today because what you are about to hear may completely change the way you look at modern pocket change and could make you stop, think, and inspect every single penny you come across, especially those dated 2020 with a small D mint mark. Because today we are diving into one of the most shocking and fascinating modern coin stories imaginable, the possibility that a 2020 D1 cent could be worth as much as $5 million due to rare errors, catastrophic mint mistakes, and extraordinary circumstances that transformed an ordinary modern penny into a potential numismatic legend. And while $5 million for a recent coin sounds unbelievable at first, history has repeatedly shown that when multiple rare errors combine with perfect timing, limited discovery, and intense collector demand, even the newest coins can achieve valuations that rival famous rarities from centuries past. And as always on this channel, our purpose is not just to excite but to explain, to break down exactly how such value is created, why these mistakes happen, and what specific possibilities could elevate a 2020 D penny into the multi-million-dollar range. And to understand this we must begin with the context of the year 2020 itself, a year unlike any other in modern history, when the United States Mint faced unprecedented disruptions, staffing shortages, altered production schedules, emergency procedures, and overwhelming demand for circulating coinage, all of which placed extreme pressure on minting operations and quietly increased the chances that serious errors could slip through unnoticed. And while the mint uses advanced technology and strict quality control, no system is flawless, especially when operating under crisis conditions. And it is during these moments of strain that extraordinary mistakes are born, and the 2020 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint using copper-plated zinc planchets, a composition that has long been known to produce dramatic errors when anything goes wrong in the preparation or striking process, including plating flaws, improper bonding between copper and zinc, incorrect alloy mixtures, and planchet contamination. And one of the most explosive possibilities surrounding a $5 million 2020 D penny is a wrong planchet or wrong metal strike. An error so rare in modern times that its mere existence would shock the numismatic world. Because a penny struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, a foreign coin, or an experimental alloy would instantly stand apart due to its weight, color, thickness, and physical behavior, and history proves that wrong metal cents, especially from modern years, can sell for staggering sums because they demonstrate a total breakdown of multiple safeguards, allowing an incorrect blank to travel from storage to the press and receive the cent design without detection. And if a genuine 2020 D penny were discovered struck on a copper alloy planchet of incorrect composition, a foreign metal blank, or even an experimental alloy being tested for future coinage, it would immediately become one of the most important modern error coins ever discovered, and once authenticated by a top professional grading service, its value would not be based on comparison but on desire. Because unique or near-unique coins create bidding wars among elite collectors, investors, and institutions who understand that they may never have another opportunity to acquire such a piece, and this kind of competition is exactly how prices reach into the multi-million-dollar range, and beyond wrong metal strikes. The 2020 D penny also carries the possibility of extreme double die errors, which are among the most coveted varieties in all of numismatics because they occur during the creation of the dies themselves rather than during striking, producing bold, raised doubling that is permanently embedded in the design, and true double dies are fundamentally different from machine doubling or strike doubling, and when a genuine double die appears on a modern coin it generates immediate excitement because modern hubbing technology has drastically reduced their frequency, making any strong example exceptionally rare, and if a dramatic double die obverse were discovered on a 2020 D penny showing clear separation in the date, the word liberty, or the motto in God we trust, it would instantly become a centerpiece of modern U.S. coin collecting, and when rarity combines with strong visual appeal and a modern date, demand can escalate rapidly beyond traditional collecting circles, drawing attention from investors who see such coins as tangible assets with global appeal, and another powerful contributor to the $5 million potential is catastrophic die damage, including massive cuts, shattered dies, retained cuts, and severe die breaks that create large raised blobs of metal, where portions of the die have broken away completely, dramatically altering the appearance of the coin, and while small die chips are common and usually ignored, a huge cut affecting Lincoln's portrait, the date, or the reverse design on a 2020 D penny would be extraordinary, especially if it occurred early in the die's life and the coin survived in pristine condition. And condition is critically important because copper-plated zinc pennies are notoriously fragile, prone to corrosion, blistering, and edge damage, meaning that uncirculated error examples are exponentially rarer than worn ones, and a flawless 2020 D error penny would suggest it was removed from circulation almost immediately, preserving its original surfaces and dramatically increasing its desirability and value, and then there are striking errors that instantly capture attention, such as extreme off-center strikes where a significant portion of the design is missing yet the date and mint mark remain visible. Because off-center coins without a visible date are interesting but limited, whereas those that clearly show 2020 D are exponentially more valuable, and prices climb sharply as the percentage off-center increases, especially when combined with full mint luster, sharp details, and additional errors like double strikes or rotated dies. And some of the most valuable modern era coins ever sold are those that combine multiple striking anomalies, creating one-of-a-kind appearances that cannot be replicated, and these multi-era coins are prized not just for their rarity but for the story they tell, because each additional era represents another failure in the minting process, compounding the improbability of the coin's existence, and it is precisely these compounded improbabilities that fuel speculation about a 2020 D penny reaching $5 million. Because collectors at this level are not buying a coin, they are buying an event, a frozen moment in time when everything went wrong in just the right way, and beyond the physical characteristics psychological and cultural factors play an enormous role in valuation, because modern-era coins resonate with the public in a way few collectibles can, symbolizing the idea that hidden wealth can still exist in everyday life, and when a modern penny becomes associated with a multi-million-dollar value it attracts media attention, viral discussion, and new participants into the market, all of which increase demand and push prices higher, and the 2020 D1 cent fits perfectly into this narrative because it represents a year defined by disruption and unpredictability, making any extraordinary error from that period especially compelling, and as collectors continue to search through bank rolls, old jars, collections, and storage boxes, the possibility remains that a spectacular 2020 D-era penny is still out there waiting to be discovered, passed from hand to hand without anyone realizing its true worth, and this lingering mystery only adds to the legend, because the fewer confirmed examples exist, the greater the excitement and the higher the stakes, and while skeptics may question how a modern penny could ever be worth $5 million, numismatic history consistently shows that when rarity, condition, story, and demand align perfectly, prices can soar beyond imagination, and the 2020 D1 cent stands as a powerful reminder that even in the modern age of technology and automation, mistakes still happen, and when they do, they can create treasures capable of changing lives forever.